There he is. All right.
All right, we'll call today's meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll?
Let me ask you this. We don't have a. So could you just lead us in song and we can
We
elect one?
can do that. We have to confirm the quorum first. and
I
then
got
we'll
you.
do that.
Okay.
So actually, Manager, our first item is Pledge of Allegiance, if you want to do that first, and then we'll go into roll call.
Great, let's do that. Mr. Truehill, Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start with item A2, roll call. Councilmember Breckus.
I'm here.
Dorr.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
Ebert.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Reese, absent at this time. Sheevy, absent at this time. Manager Thornley, you do have a quorum of the Reno City Council.
Fabulous. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And so now, as Councilmember Doer correctly points out, our rules do require us, in the absence of the mayor and the vice mayor, to have a nomination and a vote on who is going to preside over today's meeting. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Councilmember
Yeah.
Martinez.
I'd like to nominate Councilmember Dewar to be our presiding officer for this meeting.
Okay. Motion for Councilmember Doer. Anyone with a second?
A second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Doer.
Okay.
The show is yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Manager Thornley, and thanks everyone for being here. It's a great day in our wonderful community. We're going to start off today. Next item is public comment, and I'm turning to our clerk to see if we do have any public comment.
We do. Thank you, Councilmember Dorr. It should be noted that our first item today is public comment. For those in the audience, comments should be addressed to the mayor and council as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the council's agenda. Please note that council may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you're an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. And lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there is disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. Our first public commenter today is Mark Markell, followed by Terry Brooks, followed by Mara Morrison.
Good morning, people.
Good to see you, Mark.
How are you?
We're good.
Okay, now, good morning to council members and manager, and wherever you are, Mrs. Mayor. My name is Mark Markell. I'm a Coachella Reno resident. I come here not every so often, for you people, not for myself, but for you people, to warn you and show you what happens when you get in a car with a drunk driver. I was
You mean for
24
next
and I was
Okay.
a passenger in a motor vehicle. Drunk driver, we rolled 8 times. I was ejected and it landed on my head. I used to use a walker, but I've had incidences where I fell on my face and it did something. I can't walk anymore. So this is my only, this is big, but I don't want the taxpayers to have to pay for it. I got this through Care Chest. I had to return it, but when I can afford to buy a new one. But I want to warn you people not to get in the car with a drunk driver. And don't drink and drive. And that's a beautiful city flag up there. I never saw it before, but that's a beautiful one. Well, I want to thank you and hope you don't get in the car as a drunk driver. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Always an extremely timely message for all of us in summer, especially. Thank you. Who is our next public comment?
Terry Brooks, followed by Mara Morrison, followed by Ruth Spencer.
Sorry, Terry. It's hard.
The mayor wasn't here today, Mark.
Right?
Hillary wasn't here. Okay?
Good morning. It's me, Terry Brooks again. And today I'd like to render on the act of discrimination when it comes to housing and gender. When I first went to college, I took a variety of classes, and there was a variety of genders in most of my classes. And on campus, there were several sororities, and only females could live in the sororities. Also on campus, there were several fraternities, and only males could live in the fraternities. Also on campus were a lot of dormitories. There were male-only dormitories, and there were female-only dormitories. There were privately owned apartments for males and privately owned apartments for females. And there were some privately owned apartments for both males and females. But because wages then were higher for more males than females, more males could afford the apartments than could females. So when it came to gender, I saw a lot of separation. But at that time, I really didn't see it as discrimination. I can understand why a lot of females would prefer to live in places only with other females. A lot of those female students may have been a bit afraid of living near some of the males with the reputations those males had made. That developed into an uncomfortable situation that some might call one of discrimination. No one should have to fear, because of their gender, of possibly being assaulted by a sex offender. This all happened years and years ago, but it is still going on today, and the problem continues to grow. I would like to thank you all for listening to me today and for putting up with some of the uncomfortable things I sometimes say. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Terry. All right.
Mara Morrison, followed by Ruth Spencer, followed by Alan Bima.
Mara Morrison. Thank you, City Council members, for allowing me to speak today. I am the board president for the McQueen Night Riders mountain bike team and a proud parent of a rider. And I just wanted to share today the impact of building community in our young people for an organization like our mountain bike team. We are a team open to 6th through 12th grade riders who are zoned for the McQueen High School, which means we get the opportunity to welcome into our community students who are going to schools and our other local public charters as well. And we are also a team that is focused wholeheartedly on building our community and being stewards of our local area. Our team is about getting kids off of the couch and onto bikes and getting them connected with other humans in a time where we need that more than ever. We look at doesn't matter if you want to race, we want to help cultivate a healthy and active lifestyle in our young people, and we want to develop a sense of leadership. So our riders are part of driving the organization that we have the opportunity to do, including being stewards of our local trails and stewards, most importantly, to our valued Sierra Vista Bike Park that's in our local area. By doing this, I've seen firsthand as a parent, we transferred our kid to the area going into 8th grade, which is a hard time for middle school students anyway, let alone post-pandemic. And by having her be a part of this team, our coaches cultivated her and the other riders to develop a sense of self-identity, a sense of belonging, and an ability to be a leader in our community and identify local organizations and companies that we could partner with. And so in doing so, my child has a sense of belonging and feels proud to show up every day, to pick up the trash, to help build the trails, and to drive to be a better athlete and a better person. And so on behalf of our team, we are thankful for the opportunity from the council members to consider opportunities to help fund our team and to allow us to open the doors and build our community deeper by getting kids on bikes who wouldn't normally be able to afford it. We are the team that you are all welcome to join us at every race. We open up our race tent up to the greater community to share a meal, to share a conversation, and to cheer on these young people who are putting themselves out there and driving themselves to be their best self. So thank you for your time and your opportunity.
Wow, they have a great leader in you.
Thank you.
Very well spoken.
Ruth Spencer, followed by Alan Bima, followed by Jerry Mifsud.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the City Council and everyone in this forum for this opportunity. For those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Ruth April Spencer, and I'm the proud mother of 2 transgender daughters. Now I not only have one bullseye on my back, now I have 2. Right now, as I speak, there are, as of this morning, 548 bills in state senates being passed against the LGBTQ community, especially against transgender families and transgender children. My daughters now not only do not have rights, they can't even merely exist. My grandmother had a saying, to be silent, you're being complicit. Being complicit, you're condoning it. I can no longer be silent. If you do not know, for example, Tennessee just had the Supreme Court pass a bill against transitioning care for all transgender children. They have gone as far as to close their #1 medical clinic that serviced that state, Vanderbilt University Medical Clinic. But that is not where it stopped. Their own Attorney General ordered the clinic to give him all medical records to everyone who has been there, seen there, called there, referred there, or just called with a question. All of the medical records were not redacted. This alarms me, not merely because of the private records that we are supposed to have between patient and doctor. I have worked in the medical field since I was 14 years old, off and on. We have HIPAA laws in place for a reason. In the early 80s, the HIPAA was established because the gay community was being ostracized because of the AIDS epidemic. This was to protect their privacy and their well-being. Now children and transgender people are facing the same brutality as they did in the 80s. Let me explain something. My 13-year-old came out in December. She told me she was scared to come out, not because of disappointment for her parents, her family, or that she was modeling her older sister, who is her hero. She did it because now it's not only scary to come out, it's deadly. She knows that there are people out there who want to kill her for speaking her truth. During Christmas, she gave me something that is very much an honor to wear. She got me a dog tag of our local hero, the Avenger, Jeremy Renner. She told me, wear it because if you're going to be my hero, you have to look the part and be a soldier. Thank you for your time.
Wow. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Alan Bima, followed by Jerry Mifsud.
I am Alan Bima. I live on Morrill Street in Reno. I'm being flooded by what are apparently homeless people who want to live in my detached garage. Thus far, my detached garage has suffered some $2,000 worth of damage due to these homeless people. Yesterday morning, I had to evict a homeless person who was sleeping in my backyard so that I could get a locksmith in order to repair a lock that was damaged apparently overnight. This has got to stop. I have a solution.
I am asking that the city council fund the police department to the extent that when the police department finds a trespasser sleeping in someone else's property, that they can take them to the precinct, that they can require them to write an English language theme, as in normal, as all of your children basically have or will be forced to do, on why I am homeless, what my job skills are, a whole bunch of things that will tell you how to address the homeless problem. I am now told by the police that I am not to go into the back half of my own property because there is a danger of confrontation between myself and homeless people. I am obviously a doddering 84-year-old man. Do not attempt to go hand to hand with me. You will not like it. Okay, so something has to be done. Now, whether the city council can pass the necessary laws, I don't know. If not, then I would urge you to try and get the state government to pass the laws. NRS 207.030 is not being enforced. I've been told, well, there's some court decisions. That's written law, not court decisions. 206.310 is not being enforced. That's vandalism, and apparently there have been some court decisions. Court decisions are fine, but it cost me $2,000 so far to repair my garage. I have the receipts. And yesterday morning, I had to pay over $100 for a locksmith to come in for one of the locks on my back garage that was destroyed. Something has to be done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bima.
Jerry Mifsud, followed by Adam Gottlieb.
You're pathetic. You don't know nothing about homeless people. Okay, good morning. My name is Jerry Mifsud. I've been invited to write a series of articles about surviving being a senior in the Reno Gazette-Journal. Peggy Santoro gave me a call yesterday. Then I'm going to write on how I stowed away into City Hall. And it's going to be very nice. Let's see here. Teglia Paradise Park. Now, somebody Italian told me, you don't say Teglia, you don't pronounce the G in Italian. For 5 or 6 years, I've talked a lot about this park. Even recently, I spoke with, I can't say one particular person up there, like Miguel Martinez, for an hour. I expect some fruit to come from that. I'd like to be kept apprised about what's going on there. What do we need to do with the park? Well, number one, you need to make a little monument to Mr. Teglia, who gave you this park a long time ago. It'd be nice to do that. 6 years ago, you promised me a dog park. If you put the dog park right next to the Reno Orange Kitty Park, a parent can watch their dogs and their kitties all at the same time. We need to give that park back to the neighborhood, okay? People don't want to go over there because the ponds, they resonate with a real bad smell. I don't want to tell you what that smell is, but that's natural coliforms that turn into something a little bit more serious. You need to treat the ponds, get some new pumps and filters in them. That'd be nice. I hope you all have a nice day. I had a real nice handshake with Councilman Reese, I think 2 or 3 meetings ago. Were you here then?
Yep.
Wasn't that nice? Because I want to move forward, plenty of other plans. that I'd like to share with you. And the best way to do it is to keep the peace. Even with the city attorney, he's somewhere over there. There's a shiny head. I think I see him. There he is. And I appreciate your wit and your professionalism, Mr. Hall. And you promised me a dart game to play for all the goods. I know you're an attorney, so you can't be put on the spot. So, I'd like to thank God for every day that I have on this earth to make a difference in the world that I live in. So, signing off. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
Our final public commenter is Adam Gottlieb via Zoom.
Good morning. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, City Council. My name is Adam Gottlieb. I am with the with the American Political Items Collectors. Congratulations, Councilmember Dewar, on your promotion today. I am here to celebrate American history and pop culture. We, at the American Political Items Collectors, are coming to Reno on the 28th and 29th for the largest political memorabilia and pop culture show in the West. We've been coming to Reno since 2004. We are excited to be coming back to the Atlantis. And I wanted to extend the opportunity to all of the citizens of Reno and surrounding regions to come to this show. It celebrates American history, pop culture. You learn more about history by holding it in your hand. And what we've done here is we've invited collectors and dealers from all across the United States to come right to Reno. It is a key opportunity for the youth to really grasp the heritage that America presents, whether it's the moon landing more than 50 years ago on a button, or whether it's celebrating the foibles of American politics on buttons, banners, posters, and all of the like. The admission is free. It's on Friday from 10 to 5 and Saturday from 10 to 4. More information we can share at apic.us. But more importantly, we are providing a service to the citizens of Reno that they might have treasures in their attic. They might have treasures in a sewing box or something that they don't know the value of, and we're providing free appraisals by experts. So the show is a 2-day show. We encourage people to come out. Last year, I spoke to the city council, and the mayor of the day, a young gentleman named Skylar, came out to our show and joined the American Political Items Collectors, believe it or not. We've had people from all different walks of life. The university, of course, provides a great avenue to join. And I think that is my time. But at the end of the day, I want to say thank you to the City Council for giving me this opportunity, and come on out.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Gottlieb. Appreciate you showing up here today.
It's a real pleasure, and we love Reno. I must tell you that I'm in here in Sacramento, and we've got people flying out from Massachusetts, New York, Florida. We've done a lot to help raise the profile of Reno.
All right. We love Reno too. All right. You said that was the final public comment, Mickey?
That was our final public commenter. Just for the record, I would like to note that we did receive 10 comments which were general in nature or not directly associated with an agenda item prior to 4 p.m. yesterday, July 18th. These comments were written correspondence received via our reno.gov online public comment form or by email to our office. Copies of these have been distributed to the Reno City Council and are available to the public on the reno.gov meeting portal. There were 2 comments in favor and 8 items of concern. Additionally, we did receive 7 voicemails which were transcribed and provided to the Reno City Council and are available on the reno.gov meeting portal. And with that, we have no additional public comment, and we are looking to move into item A4, approval of the agenda.
All right. Just one comment there. I did attempt to read all the voicemails, and the transcription's still pretty rough. And is there any better technology that we have, or can we check into that? They're hard to read, and also we're not playing them, so
I will commit to working with the city manager's office to see what resources there are, and we will come back to the body with a decision.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay, well, we'll close out public comment and move on to approval of the agenda. Item A4. And Mr. Manager, do you have any advice for us on this item?
I do not. We're ready to rock and roll.
All right. I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
A motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Martinez. Second, anyone? Second. Ms. Taylor, all right. All right. Any comments on the agenda? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously. We have an agenda. We're moving on to approval of the minutes, and it looks like we have 3 sets of minutes from May 24th, June 7th, and June 14th. And I'm looking for any changes, exceptions to the minutes, and now I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
All right, Ms. Taylor, thank you.
Second.
All righty. We have a second as well from Ms. Ebert. Any final comment on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved unanimously. And we're moving on to the consent agenda items. Mr. Manager, anything taken out of order?
We have nothing to take out of order.
Okay, thank you. I'm now looking for any items members would like to pull, and I'll go to my left with Ms. Ebert. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'd like to pull B8, B10, and B11.
Okay. All right, Ms. Taylor?
No.
None? Mr. Martinez?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
None? Ms. Breckus?
Yeah, 2 of my items were already pulled, but I'd also like to pull B13.
All righty. All right, we'll now take a vote on the rest of the remaining consent agenda items.
Councilman Ward, just for the record,
Oh.
I'd like to state that we did receive 2 letters of correspondence. These have been entered into the record and are available to the public. There was 1 letter in support of an item and 1 letter of concern, which again have been distributed.
Oh, wait a second. I apologize. B13, I've got my items that received supplemental materials mixed up. B13 received the supplemental material that I did not see until I arrived here this morning. The other one that I did want to pull on account of the supplemental material that got loaded up that I did not see until I got here is B19. So I'd rather pull B19 than B13. I apologize.
Okay, so leave B13 on the consent.
Yeah, are you removing B13 or are you keeping B13?
No, I don't. I do not need to pull B13.
Great. So just to recap, we're going to pull items B8, B10, B11, and B19.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so I'm now looking for a motion to approve the remaining items.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Ms. Taylor. And a second,
Second.
Mr. Martinez. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Taylor, second by Mr. Martinez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. We'll now go back to the items that we've pulled, and we'll start with B8, pulled by Councilmember Ebert.
Councilmember Dorr, if you're okay, if we open B8 and B10 together, since they are related items, that would be preferred for myself and for the presenter.
Is that fine with you, Ms. Ebert?
I think they're, actually, I prefer not. I think they're separate items, and under our rules of procedure, when the mayor's chairing, we limit our time, and I am asking and requesting full time on each item, so I don't want them pulled together. So to limit my line of questioning on these.
Okay, well, we may learn enough from B8 that B10 will go quickly. We'll start with B8. And you said there was a presentation by our staff. Thank you.
Good morning, council members. Lance Ferrato for the record. We do have the applicant available via Zoom with a short presentation just to give everybody an update on the project. I'm happy to ask questions before or after that, or if you'd just like to move on to the presentation, we can do that.
Well, let me turn to Ms. Ebert. What is your preference?
Can we have the presentation first?
Sure.
Well, wait a second. Does staff have a presentation?
No, ma'am. I can answer anything you'd like to know about the project, but I don't have an affirmative presentation.
I'd like to hear the staff analysis first, which helps me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, but first of all, this is 219 North Center Street.
Well, one second, Mr.
219
Marcus.
North Center,
I
correct.
thought you said you would like to have a presentation.
He doesn't have a presentation, so I'd like to ask him questions about the agenda.
Okay, well, let me turn
because-
first. Okay.
If you don't mind.
I
If
don't
you
mind, but let me
I
turn.
think that before we hear, an applicant presentation, we
Yeah,
should
it's
have
fine.
the table set by our experts, our staff.
It's fine. Before you go on, though,
yeah.
I want to ask Ms. Ebert, does she have any questions of our staff?
No, I'd prefer to have the staff first
And
and then the presentation.
Mr. Ferrato, the applicant is not on Zoom at this time.
Okay.
All right. So back to you, Ms. Breckus.
Yeah, first of all, and this is why I wanted to kind of orient myself with the geography, that's a detail. It's 219 North Center Street.
That's correct. That's the address that's been designated for the property in general.
I had a hard time finding that because, to my understanding, there's not a 219 North Center Street. North Center Street does not exist. It becomes University Way right away. So I had a hard time finding that. Is there a North Center Street now under our street naming?
This application may have gone through, or it may be been filed even before those street name changes came in. I can pull up, we could do some research on the GIS to find the exact parcel, but I believe the map identifies it as well in your packet.
Yeah, I think that's a problem.
Okay.
It's a problem I foresaw and had a lot of issues with naming a 150-year-old street, mid-street. And, here we go. And I, who, walked around looking for the property, had a hard time finding it. I think we've got an advertising problem here. I really do. Because North Center Street no longer exists. I think that's gone into place. Maybe it's going on a year and a half. When did this application come in?
Well, let me answer that first as well. The Gaming Control Board disposition that approved this item did label the item as 219 University Way. And this may have been a conflict with our GIS maps when we came in and put the application in. It's 219 University on their documentation.
Yeah. I'll get to the Gaming Control Board disposition because I watched 3 hours of their tapes yesterday. But I'm just bringing up that geography issue.
Yeah.
If the city attorneys feel that it's okay, I just think that we usually advertise things correctly. And as far as I understand, 219 North Center Street no longer exists.
Okay. Well, I was next going to turn to our attorneys. We have the agenda. Are you comfortable with this issue, or do you think this needs to be re-agendized?
No, we can continue it to the next meeting. Make sure it's very clear to everybody, even though I think everybody knows what building we're talking about. If we can send
Okay.
it to the next agenda and make
Well,
sure.
let me ask that. The next
Everybody's
meeting is
comfortable
next
with it.
Wednesday. Does that create any hardship for anyone? or-
Honestly, I'd like to, the applicant's counsel is available. If you'd like to ask them that question, I think they'd be better suited to answer it.
I think to be perfectly accurate, I always like to have the agenda items very well represented. We all know what Center Street was, and what University is. So let me ask, are there any further questions? You're still on your time.
Yeah, I have a number of questions about this one and the other one, and the presumption that we all know where the building is, I'm not so sure that is, and I'm not so sure that I know where Suite 1, W-2, and W-7 are. I know what is known as the former Harris Gaming property. It was classified as a hotel casino. I understand it's been vacant for a lot of years. I know that in '21, we approved a limited gaming operation there. But now I'm very confused why we're operating what I call a slot parlor and how we got here under the zoning regulations. So I wouldn't mind posing a number of questions because I think while this staff report maybe has some detail, the aside of the, the addressing, B10 has a lot of questions for me about the zoning land.
But we're on
Actually,
B8.
But before we move further on either item, if the complaint is that it's not agendized properly, we should probably just agendize it for the next meeting
That's
and
what I
stop
was
the
thinking.
discussion today.
Yes,
that's what I was
And re-agendize, just to be.
Okay.
That's great, and I'll just let everyone know, because I have a lot of questions, and I haven't had the opportunity to have a briefing to go into the detail. I'll enter into the record for today all of my questions.
Okay.
So that perhaps when it does get supplemented, now that the 19th agenda, the 26th agenda is already posted, is that correct?
No, it's not.
Okay, so it'll just roll over. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
All
very
right,
much.
thank you. And I think it would be useful to post your questions and send them to Mr. Ferretto as well. To our staff person, so they're prepared to address them.
Okay, well, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
B10.
All right. I'm looking for a motion to continue item
Wait.
B8.
We don't need a continuance. We need to re-agendize it. Continuing would
need
be
a
the same
motion
item. We got to retitle
To
it.
withdraw these two items, correct?
Yeah, we can just, I think we can just administratively say we can't move forward because of the noticing issue.
Yeah, and to the applicant, I do apologize, but this was some of the concern about renaming a 150-year-old street to University Way. It was controversial. It was going to cause confusion, and it has.
Okay. So the sum and substance is that we don't need a motion. We can just take no action on this item and have it come back at the next meeting. So that is the plan for next Wednesday, July 26th. Okay? And I would ask Ms. Breckus that you do as much conversation, including with the applicants, to get your answers. I mean, with whomever. Okay, we are going to move on to item B11, as pulled by Ms. Hebert.
Again, Lance Ferrato, Business License Division. Happy to answer any questions. If you'd like a brief history of the property or the reason for licensure, I'm happy to give that.
Well, one of my main questions is the wording on this. It says Nevada State Liquor Manufacturer's License application. So the wording's a little different than I'm used to seeing. So if you could just explain to me why the license application says manufacturer's license. Are you guys going to be manufacturing alcohol?
Lance Ferrato for the
Liquor
record.
there?
Yes, ma'am. This is a typical application that comes through the state application for a manufacturer's license must go through the local jurisdiction. So anytime you get a brew pub, any sort of distiller, anything like that, the application comes through the city.
Okay, so there will actually be a manufacturer of alcohol
Correct.
there. Do you know the timeline on that? Because
Yes, and let me just give you a brief history of what's going on here. We're referring to the Brew Brothers inside the El Dorado, and they've been brewing beer for years now. So in late 2020, early 2021, the Silver Legacy, El Dorado, and Circus were all held under separate entities and licensed separately. In order to realize operating efficiencies and eliminate redundancies, essentially they removed two of the entities, and El Dorado Circus El Dorado Joint Venture LLC became the sole licensee that operated all three. So when that came to the city, in collaboration with the city attorney's office, the planning department, the health department, the gaming control board, everybody agreed that these changes were administrative in nature. So all the changes were made. At that time, everything was changed. The state license for liquor manufacturing was overlooked. So the Department of Taxation went and said, this is not administrative in nature to us. You can't transfer this, so you're going to need to reapply. And so hence we're here with the application today.
and it's having the mayor sign it for a state liquor license, is that?
That's totally typical.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Ms. Breckus.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that explanation. And I'll tell you why is I get, because I've been involved in the business licensing for years now. I get the change of ownership and names and all that and how that flows through. But what I've been seeing quite a bit of when I look through the development stuff coming up is a lot of people, or not a lot, but some people who have typical operations seem to be or historic operations that are well known, seem to be put through new procedures. And to me, that triggers some revenue officer at our level efforts, okay? And, if all of a sudden a class of operators are getting, knock on the door with the revenue officers and having to come through, and some of those through discretionary permits, sometimes that hits us, from constituents. And I'll give an example. I think a dining table one just came through the planning commission or the administrator for a business that's had an outdoor, tables on California Avenue for decades. And I presume a revenue officer went out and knocked on the door. So it's helpful to me to understand, maybe a little more advanced, what your revenue officers are doing. There was one a couple months ago that really flared up in my mind, but because I heard it from a couple people. So it is good to hear maybe at some time where the revenue officers are out, doing things, or certainly in your staff reports, how it generated. So this was a state effort that got this to us, not our revenue officers. Okay.
That's correct.
That's very helpful to me to understand. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments or questions by council members? Ms. Ebert? Any follow-up? Or are you prepared to make a motion?
So is this something that we just do periodically, or is this due to change of name of the business?
Well,
Or
Lance
if
Ferraro, for
somebody
the
could just
record.
explain, I don't know.
In this
explain the
case,
process.
these type of licenses are fairly frequent. I'd say we get a handful a year of new, like I said, brew pubs, distillers, things like
But
that.
like the renewal process.
Yeah, the renewal process doesn't come through as it's administrative. You never see it unless there was an issue. This one we got triggered by the state, so that's what brings it here back. It brings it back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very uncommon.
Okay, do we know what triggered it with the state?
Basically, just standard inspections, compliance inspections by the state, and it was an oversight, clerical error on the applicant or on the licensee, and so they said you need corrective action, and that's
Okay,
what we
do you
did
know
is-
how long you were, or the applicant was out of compliance?
I believe I actually don't know that answer. I'm happy to ask applicant's counsel if they know that. If it's specific, I can dig into it for you, but I don't think it was a very long time. I think that they came in, realized that the last license wasn't renewed correctly, and then pushed them towards this process.
Okay, so it was just an incomplete renewal license?
Correct.
Okay, so did they have a license posted, or?
At this time, they're on a temporary license until this part can be shored up. So they're still operating at this time, and then on July 21st, they will. Their temporary license will lapse. This won't go into effect, and we'd be back in business.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Ms. Ebert, did you want to make a motion?
Did anyone else have any? All right, make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so motion by Councilmember Ebert, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any final comments or questions? Seeing none, please say aye if you approve. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. All right, that concludes the consent
Nope.
items.
No.
We do have item B19, and
I'm
my
sorry.
apologies. I keep wanting to call you Vice Mayor Dorr, but Councilmember Dorr, we did have one public commenter via Zoom that had raised their hand, but we kind of just started rolling, and they want to comment on B19 anyway. So if you're
Okay,
okay, we'll go ahead and
perfect.
take the public comment at this time.
Sure.
Robin Palmer.
Is Robin here?
Robin, we are trying to transition you to the Zoom meeting. You should be getting a
Yes,
prompt.
I'm
Oh,
here. I'm
perfect.
sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Please
I
state your
was
name for
on
the
the
record
phone
and
with the
begin speaking.
I was on the phone with the clerk's office. Good morning, council members. My name is Robin Palmer, and I'm a resident of rural Washoe County. And I remind you that we all reside on lands that were taken from Native Americans. I do not have a camera. I was on the phone with the clerk's office because I had registered to give public comment with the appropriate form. The form asks if you want to give public comment at this planning commission meeting. And that confused me. I answered no. So I called the clerk's office to say I wanted to give public comment. And I was told that the presiding officer would ask for public comment and that I could raise my hand at that time. That did not happen. So to get on to my public comment, is it hot enough for you? Reno, the state of Nevada, and most of the West is sweltering under a wave of extreme temperatures, while the East recovers from record rainfall and resulting flooding of streams and rivers. People, members of our species, die in these extreme weather events. Unless mankind radically reduces its dependence on fossil fuels and works to globally lower greenhouse gas emissions these extreme events will become more common. I think we are already seeing that in our lifetimes. More people will perish, and our planet will become increasingly uninhabitable. The city of Reno has a minuscule impact on global climate, but if cities nationwide and worldwide act to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, the impact will be huge. Kudos to the city of Reno for developing the Sustainability and Climate Action Plan. The city needs to get back on track to meet the goals of that plan. I want to remind you this morning that many of your decisions influence the city's greenhouse gas emissions. I draw attention to the items on this morning's agenda. B18, approval of the purchase of vehicles to add to the city's fleet. B19, the award of a contract for heating and air conditioning equipment in the California building. And B20, the award of a contract for roof repairs of the California building. The staff report for item B19 indicates that the project aligns with climate change and environmental sustainability, but the staff report provides no details as to how that is going to happen. And I emailed Frank Avera, whose name is associated with that project, several days ago, and have not had a response, excuse me, to my email asking for more details. I ask for greater transparency from the city on these matters.
All right, thanks, Ms. Palmer. I'm sorry your time is up, and I also want to apologize that there was a confusion about making your public comment, but I'm glad that you had an opportunity to do it now.
Thank you.
I think we will hear a little bit about the project, so you may want to stay tuned. Ms. Breckus, you pulled this item.
I did, and just when I got here today, I did see a public comment. Let me just bring it up. And I've been familiar. I actually thought this project had already been completed, but you know, I've gone out there, I've looked at it, I've had discussions with staff about it. I'm very excited about it. But the questions came from a Mr. Bissett, who claims expertise in the heating, ventilation of buildings, and you know, makes some assertions that you know, alternatives to advance you know, cleaner energy efficient alternatives were not compared and not implemented, even as I understand, per the RFP. So could you address that, Mr. Rivera? His comment, did you read his comment?
I did not.
You didn't? No. It came in yesterday at 12:14. Don't these go to the staff members when the comment comes in?
They go to the management team, so they don't go specifically to staff.
Mr. Manager, did you how does it float into your office if we get public comment?
If we get public comment, we get it similar to you in the bulk distribution at the end of the day.
You don't send it down to the staff member and flag it for them, or?
In this case, I don't believe we did, no.
Okay. Well, you know, he says the statement in the RFP that the city considers energy efficiency, reduction of energy operating costs of CHG emissions reduction as additional primary goals for any building project that affects energy usage beyond the functional requirements of this project and project final costs. And he says request a baseline bid that meets energy code and option. Well, I don't know if I want to read it. I mean, he brings in, you know, pretty well versed concerns about you know, this bid and your proposal going forward. So how did you, how did the bid address that, the energy efficiency And can you just go on to that? Yeah.
Good morning, Madam Mayor for a day, council members, Mr. City Manager, Frank Avera, Facility Manager for Maintenance and Operations Department. So I'm really excited to bring this project to you today. So sustainability to us is more than just looking at the equipment, it's looking at the building altogether. So the roof, we took great pride in finding existing tiles. So we didn't have to just completely destroy that roof and put on a whole new roof. So with the HVAC project, we hired a consultant, CR Engineering, who designed this project for us. The new equipment today is far more energy efficient than what was in there before. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, why didn't the designer consider a VRF heat pump with ductless mini splits?
I'm not sure that works for that size of building.
It doesn't? Okay.
Thanks, Ms. Breckus. I am going to make a comment as well. I read the letter as well. I thought it was very well written. And I wasn't as concerned about this project that he wrote about, but maybe future projects. And really, I think what he was suggesting was more specificity in the bid documents to require that the bidder show that they met a certain standard, or that we have evaluated options. And we've chosen this option. And I think I wanted to make sure Ms. Groneman, our sustainability manager, got a copy of the letter as well. And I thought between the two of you, you could see if there's some way we may want to enhance our bid documents.
For sure, and I can bring the sustainability manager in to the early in the design phase of this.
Yeah, because anything we can do to be energy efficient, I know we're working on. Look at our first community solar project, which is underway right now, out behind Moana Fire Station 3. Look at the fact that on Moana Pool, we're looking at both solar and geothermal. I think the city's taking some really significant steps with the leadership of the team, but I think we can always do more. And if this is an option, I think it could enhance the process. That said, I just wanted to say I had a chance to go out to the California building with you and look at the improvements that are being made, look at the roof, look at this air conditioning plan, and you guys are just doing a great job. It's really, it's a very, as you said, very exciting day. Being able to take this building back. And also with the air conditioning, I think you plan to expand the uses of the building. Is that correct?
Correct. So it's a very popular building. There's reunions, weddings, graduation parties, birthday parties, almost every day in the summer, but it's very difficult because of the temperatures in that building are just really uncomfortable and unsustainable.
Okay.
So this is really exciting to add air conditioning to that building, which will make it more user-friendly.
And then when I was there, we also had a chance to look at the backyard, and there's a lot of events that could be held out there with some shade. Unfortunately, it faces south and southwest, so in the afternoon, there's very little shade. I think anything we could do there would really enhance the usability. And so you and I looked at that as well. So I hope to see something come back on that too.
Thank you. So this is phase one. Phase two is the painting the outside of the building and working on the kitchen. And then another phase will be the backyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Ms. Breckus, any more?
Yeah. So this designer that you hired to design the system, did that contract come to us, or is that someone you have on staff generally?
It was under 100,000, so it did not come to you.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that's maybe the starting point, is to make sure that that person's charge and expertise is in, that. And I'm not an architect, but there's so much quick movement on a lot of that interior systems right now, and we just really hope that we have someone who can, direct us in that way. And I'll just say, for example, on the kitchen, think about it. A lot of people come in and out of that kitchen, right? And what if, when you turn over the equipment in there, you move to all electric, and some person comes in who, hasn't used electric or something, and is like, wow, this is pretty slick, because that's a best trend. So we can showcase, the next iterations of this property in energy efficient, and particularly everyone has a kitchen, and most people at some time, if they're able to, make modifications to their kitchen. So it could be a showcase, like a what do you call it, a model, design thing. So I'll be looking for that. But I really do appreciate that. But I would like to have confirmation that our staff, when public comment is coming in, I think it's really what we need to do, that it is being sent to the manager's office down to the line people, whoever they are. Because we get it, and we want...
especially if they're going to present, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's helpful.
Well, that something's on consent, they don't necessarily know they're going to be presenting, but they have to be prepared to present, right? So, thank you.
Okay. All right, let me ask of the body, any final comments or questions on this item? This was pulled by Councilmember Breckus. Do you have a motion for us?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Breckus, second by Councilmember Ebert to approve item B19. Any final comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Go forward and conquer, team. That's great. I believe this now closes out the consent agenda. We're going to open up public hearings, item C. Madam Clerk, do you have some opening comments for us on that? Should I
Thank
refer
you.
to our attorney?
Nope, that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and open item C1. It is a bill introduction to be read by the City Attorney's Office.
Ordinance introduction, bill number 7242, case number LDC 23-00056, Carville Park Senior Apartments, SPD. Ordinance to amend Title 18, Chapter 18.02 of the Reno Municipal Code entitled Zoning, rezoning a plus or minus 4.53 acre site for multifamily residential, 14 units per acre, MF14, to Carville Park Senior Apartments Specific Plan District, SPD. The site is located on 2 parcels on the south side of Carville Drive, plus or minus 110 feet east of Sutro Street. The site has a master plan designation of mixed neighborhood, MX, Ward 3.
All right, Mr. Foster.
Yes.
Councilmember Doer, would you like to open the public hearing?
Okay, I am opening, the public comment, the public hearing.
Good morning, members of the council. Jeff
Just
Foster.
for the record, sorry, Jeff, we're not all the way through it. So proper notice was given, Councilmember Doer, and no correspondence was received on this item.
All right, excellent. I'll try this again on different surface. All right, Mr. Foster.
Good morning again, members of the council. Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. Bringing you this morning LDC 2356, which is the Carville Park Senior Apartments Specific Plan District zone change. So the project, as read earlier, is approximately 4.53 acres on 2 different parcels. It is currently a low-income senior housing community serving seniors at 30 to 60% of the area median income. It has 11 buildings with 52 dorm-style units, and that's a key phrase that I'll come back to later and address. It contains 134 parking spaces with 15 handicap accessible spaces. I wanted to point out that code would require approximately 115 spaces with 6 accessible spaces for a new affordable housing development. All that is to say is that the current development has sufficient parking as required. This is a request to change the zone from MF14 to SPD, and no additional uses or buildings are proposed. To frame the location for you, you can see that it is just east of the Reno Sparks Livestock Event Center and the Washoe County Complex. The key issues are zoning and development standards compatibility. The renovation of the Carville Park Senior Apartments complex involves an additional 20 to 30 years minimum of low-income housing status. It involves life safety improvements, accessible ADA improvements, as well as cosmetic upgrades, and relocation of the residents during the renovation project will be done at the responsibility of the applicant. They can provide more details if you would like, but suffice it to say that the residents will be relocated to other facilities in phases, and the costs associated with that relocation will be borne by the applicant. There's no additional financial burden on the residents of the facility. Overall, this is a conforming reuse of the property that addresses deferred maintenance, improves efficiency of the systems, as well as remains affordable. I should have pointed out that zooming in a little bit further, you can see the location is near the corner of Sutro and Carville. It's surrounded by a mixture of primarily duplexes with some single-family homes and apartments on the north side of Carville there. So the current zoning is multifamily 14, and the proposed zone change is to specific plan district, and I'll get into the particulars of why that is here in a minute. The master plan land use is mixed neighborhood, and here are a handful of goals and policies that the proposal conforms with in terms of the master plan. So the background here is that the development has 52, again, dorm-style apartments that function as 208 individual units, but are not technically dwelling units. And that is because, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, the 4 individual units share a common area and kitchen. So they're not technically their own individual dwelling units from a density perspective. The proposal is to replace those 52 shared kitchens with a private kitchen for each of the 208 units, which you can see in the picture on the lower portion of the screen. These modifications technically increase the dwelling unit density beyond the standard density allowed in the MF14 zone. And in practice, however, there's effectively no change in density, as each of the 208 rooms is currently leased to an individual household. This will not change with the new 208 individual dwelling units with their own kitchens. Okay, so here's a chart or a table that shows the current MF14 zoning development standards, as well as what would happen under the SPD. As you can see, in essence, the only thing that is changing is the density that's allowed under the SPD. All of the other standards would remain the same for MF14. So the SPD is utilizing the current MF14 base zoning standards with respect to everything other than density. The SPD's handbook provides assurance that future renovation and redevelopment of the site will be nearly identical to what exists on the site currently. It provides for little flexibility in design and development standards, as the property will function no differently than it has and will continue to serve 208 low-income senior households. The location of existing buildings, sidewalks, parking lots, and service areas will remain unchanged. To wrap it all up, it is important to recognize and understand that the zone change to the SPD is necessary only to recognize and formalize the density to allow the 208 dwelling units with their own kitchens. Here are the recommended findings for zoning map amendments, and here's the recommended motion. The Planning Commission did approve this or recommend this for approval with a unanimous vote. I'm open for questions.
All right, great job. That was very well done. Let me open it to the body for questions. I'm going to start with just one quick question. 208 units, and what is the acreage size, did you say?
4.53 acres.
All right, 4.53. All right. And I see Mr. Benner here in the audience. Welcome. But before, I do want you to come up, but before we do that, does the body have any questions for Mr. Foster? Seeing none? Okay. Other than my one question. Mr. Benner, would you come up? I would just like to know a little bit about what moved you to go, to do this renovation and to go from the shared kitchen to the individuals, and how does that affect the living space?
Okay, try to get all that in. Okay. Rob Benner, Executive Secretary Treasurer at the Northern Nevada Building Trades. Also, the other hat is Secretary Treasurer for the Northern Nevada Building Trades Development Corp., which owns this property. So, a little bit of background on the Development Corp. The Development Corp was founded in the late 70s, 1978, built 2 senior-based low-income housing developments. From there, so we've owned this property for over 40 years. Wow. And it has not had any major rehab done to it for 40 years. So it is in it needs a rehab really, really bad. Why we're going to the model of, or trying to get away from the from the like dorm style setup is because, well, one, the pandemic taught us a lot of lessons. With the pandemic, we had 208 seniors living in shared housing, and senior, very vulnerable population, don't really want them intermingling while we're, in the middle of a pandemic. So HUD, this was a recommendation from HUD. We saw the need. We're going to have to do a rehab on the property anyway. So we're taking this opportunity to divide all the spaces up, divide the common area up, and so the common area gets shared with the other all 4 spaces. That way we have the room to add the kitchens, and then once it's a kitchen, it's technically a dwelling unit. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay, very neat. Really cool job. I'm really glad to see this renovation happen. I mean, people, no matter what level, deserve to have good housing, and I'm sure this will bring up the whole quality. Do you have to do any improvements to the HVAC or those kind of things to make this work?
Yeah, this whole remodel, I mean, it's complete gut. I mean, everything's going down to the studs.
Oh, it is.
This building, the buildings are going to be, other than the exteriors, are going to be brand new inside. So it's all new plumbing, all new electrical. We're adding solar. Everything will be electrical, high efficiency. So we're already planning, taking all those steps. HUD really favors projects that do these kind of things. So
Well, a question on the solar. What it drove you to do that? I mean, there's not a requirement today to do it. Did it make economic sense? I mean,
well, a little bit of everything. I mean, honestly, we want to make sure that our tenants have a nice place to live. This building's 40 years old. It needs a rehab desperately, and we're trying to upgrade the quality of living for our residents. What it really comes down to, it's not we're not necessarily going to make any more money off of this. Our rents are set by HUD. So this is really just upgrading the quality of life for our residents, and making sure this is not only are we doing this for for the residents there, but for the future, because this is actually a preservation deal. This property would be a property that could go market rate very easily. We've seen multiple affordable housing developments around town. We'll be able to. This is a preservation deal. Where this property will be affordable into perpetuity.
okay. Well, just to follow up on the solar, does that reduce the electric costs for the people in the homes?
Yeah, and that's those. We're still working through some of the solar issues. I mean, I could probably bring up.
No, I
our
just
developer
wondered if
you
that
want.
was a driver.
Yeah, it is one of the drivers. Right now, it depends. We're not too sure how it's all going to work out at the end of the day, but that's the avenue we're going down, is to reduce the cost for the
And
tenants.
one last question. It said in the presentation, 20 to 30 years affordable, but don't you have to pick a number, like 20 or 30 or something else?
I think it's 30.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
State law, I believe state law says that, properties have to be 30
I
years.
think
so.
owners actually have a choice. I mean, but I think
Yeah.
it matters with HUD,
Yeah.
what their requirements are, so.
I don't know. I could bring
Okay.
up Pat. That Pat would be able to answer that
Okay,
question a lot better.
that's fine. I just wanted to, I figured it was a number, not a range in
Yeah.
this case. All right. Let me ask, are there any final questions for either our staff or Mr. Benner? Councilmember Breckus.
The presentation, Mr. Foster, was thorough. Hey, question for you. Do you know the nature of the HUD subsidy that's coming in? Is it a tax credit? Did you go through the qualified allocation program?
Yeah, I'll
Is it
bring
a
up our
9%?
development partner to answer that question.
Yeah.
Pat Bernanke, development partner for the record. So the property currently has a HUD HAP contract on it.
HAP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so those were in place with a lot of HUD 202 loans that
Yeah.
took place in the 70s. So
Okay,
that was
way
how
back
this
when.
project
Yeah.
was built. It's at the point now where it can be renewed.
Okay. Oh,
And it'll
okay.
be renewed at no additional cost for the residents.
Okay.
But as part of the renewal, the property will also go through the low-income housing tax credit program.
Oh,
So there'll
okay.
be affordable bonds as well.
Uh-huh.
And to your question about solar, a lot of it is operational. We'll be able to pass those savings on, but for the first time, the federal government has allowed energy credits and low-income housing tax credits
Oh,
to be
gosh.
married.
Uh-huh.
Previously, they would dilute each other.
Uh-huh.
So That's brand new and fresh. So that's
And then are home dollars in there to
Yes.
keep it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's good. I appreciate that. It's an interesting model. I'd like to come do a tour before when you move people and see it, because I have a real strong interest in retrofits. I think that that's kind of the model a lot of ways places are moving. There's so much discussion out there and how housing's moving. I actually think I read an article in the LA Times this week that a housing model is actually going the opposite way, but that's market rate. So you're going this way, which I can see works in an affordable, the population you're serving. But I think in market-stressed areas, they're going the other way. But then there's also the interior complexity of retrofitting a building is really intriguing to me. So, if you'd be willing to, I'm sure you'll have an open house when it opens. Yeah, okay, thank you.
And just a quick plug, not that anybody here needed it, but a huge kudos to Mr. Foster and the planning department. This is kind of a quirky request when we come in and say, hey, we've got 52, we want it to be 208, but it's already 208. What do we do? And they've been super, super helpful and very patient with us.
Yeah, well, it was really this body that fought for reinstalling the specific plan district zoning designation too. So we gave them the tool.
Use this as a case study for how it can merit
you.
success.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
thank you.
All right, any further comments or questions from the body? I will just say you're doing a remarkable thing for our community. I mean, at this point, it could be a tear down, right? You either have to renovate it or start again, and you're going down to the studs. I mean, that is a lot of energy, a lot of work. Are you bringing in from the Northern Nevada Building Trades? I mean, is this a learning opportunity for others?
Yeah, so Rob Benner for the record. So this is going to be, we have apprenticeship requirements. This is going to be a union project. It'll all be built with union labor. We also have a partnership with Treasurer Conine at the state level. We are going to be utilizing funds from the State Infrastructure Bank that Treasurer Conine has set aside for exactly this purpose for affordable housing projects that use union pension funds. So this project is also going to be financed by union pension funds. So this will be a union project. It will have apprenticeship requirements. It will have disadvantaged hire requirements also. So I mean, we're hoping this will be a model of how we build things going forward.
Okay. You kind of gave me chills there.
All
these partners.
Yeah, this is you'll see us a little bit more in council chambers, a little bit more for future projects, because one of my goals, I've always seen the Development Corp as something that was underutilized. And we have such a great need for affordable housing here in the Washoe area. The Development Corp is going to be looking for future projects and building more affordable housing. We are building trades. We are committed to expanding the portfolio of affordable housing here in the Washoe area.
Well, anything we can do, and it sounds like Mr. Foster, you have led by example. Working with them, and Councilmember Breckes is right. We did fight to bring back the specific plan district or development option, which had been eliminated, so that we could have a flexible tool, and this is a perfect use of it. So kudos and thanks, Mr. Thornley, for your leadership as well, because this doesn't all happen in a vacuum. So thank you. All right, well, we're looking forward to partnering going forward, and I'm looking for a motion to approve item C1.
I'll move.
Okay, Ms. Breckes?
Second.
Move to refer, yeah. For a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Mr. Martinez. Any final comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. You're on your way, fantastic. All right. We are going to turn our attention to item D, the development services items, and D1 is next up.
Good morning.
Hi.
One moment.
We're just waiting for you.
All right, as we upload the presentation, I'm going to kick it off. Angela Foos, Assistant Director for Development Services, here today to talk about a temporary waiver of fees associated with outdoor dining. And one moment while we upload the presentation.
Okay, sure.
Not that one. If we can't find it, I can just do a hard copy.
Well, I'm sure it's coming up. We're patient, and we're well ahead of schedule. Well, let me ask, is a presentation even available to be uploaded here? Mickey or anyone? Oh, there you are. Okay.
There
I
is,
didn't even see her.
there is a slide deck.
Okay, well, we'll just be patient for a minute. Does anybody need a break? You do? All right, we're going to take just a 5-minute break while we bring up the presentation. Working? Okay. All right. All right. Okay, we're going to come back to order. Thanks for that little quick break. We're going to item D1, and we're going to see if we can pull up the presentation.
Great. So again, for the record, Angela Foos, Assistant Director for Development Services. The item before us today is to discuss a temporary waiver of fees associated with outdoor dining and seating. Just to give everyone a better understanding of what that means and what is an outdoor dining permit. Anytime we have a city sidewalk, that's the sidewalk that the city owns and maintains, we require a special permit. The reason we require that is because there's maintenance responsibilities. There's also making sure that there's ADA access. And so we have to go through a process to make sure those businesses are aware of all these requirements and that they are actually following through. So typically when we think of outdoor dining, we think of bars and restaurants, but you also see in places like coffee shops or even in front of a retail, a commercial, or even a salon type business where you just have seating outside your business. We've had some history on this over the past couple years on how do we regulate seating within our outdoor space. During COVID in particular, when there were a lot of declarations that said you can't have businesses indoors and you can't have seating indoors, we opened it up to outdoor seating pretty much anywhere you wanted, whether it was in a parking lot or on a city sidewalk. So we didn't have the same requirements during COVID that we did now. We lifted those requirements. We made it much more flexible for businesses to be able to stay open and maintain a business. Once COVID was over, then we said, moving forward, how do we keep those outdoor businesses outdoors? You know, the benefit, maybe the one benefit of COVID, is that it really introduced us to the idea of outdoor seating. And that's something that we've had in Reno, but we hadn't really utilized it in our Midtown area. Keep in mind, too, our Midtown sidewalks used to be 3 feet wide, so we didn't really have the ability to have outdoor seating until RTC put in that project and really widened the sidewalks. So many things have then transpired since then. It was during last September, after COVID was over, where this council adopted a resolution to temporarily waive those fees. And the intent was to waive the fees associated with outdoor dining for 1 year. And so in that last year, how have we proactively gone out and let those businesses know that this is an option? We're trying not to come at this as a regulator. We're not using code enforcement. We're not going and saying, you are not meeting our regulations. We're being proactive. So we started out by just sending out letters. Keep in mind, we had a very wet winter, so we really lost a lot of outdoor space, a lot of outdoor dining until the month of June. So at the end of May, early June, we sent out about 1,500 letters, and that was to all types of businesses and property owners within the downtown and midtown. People that we thought, we don't even know if they're interested, but let's let them know what the options are. We put together this great brochure, we sent out letters, and so we also did a big social media campaign where we used our City of Reno social media outlets. We had multiple interviews with radio and the local news, and then we tried to share this with any time we had conversations with our downtown businesses. So that's where we've been in the last year. Where are we at now? Again, since we've done all of that outreach, we've had about 8 applicants come in for outdoor dining. Many of these applicants are businesses that have been doing outdoor dining for a number of years and just didn't even know this was a requirement. So A, they were excited to know that it was free, that they could apply now under this free waiver program. And B, we also introduced the idea that we want to make sure you guys are meeting ADA accessible requirements. So many of them didn't realize they had to actually maintain a certain width within that sidewalk space. So we're kind of bringing attention to them as well. Again, not trying to over-regulate, trying to be more proactive and encourage businesses to do this. So where we're at today is within the last couple of weeks, we've done just kind of a walking survey of our midtown and downtown and trying to see which businesses are using outdoor dining. There's about 25 active businesses today. Again, that could be different tomorrow because as the weather warms up, more businesses are going to continue to do this. But as of the last couple of weeks, there's about 25 businesses. And so within that, like I said, we've had about 8 come forward. And so there's about 17 then that we would like to proactively go out and let them know that if they're going to continue outdoor dining and seating, we would need them to go through this process. So the request in front of you now is, do you want to continue this this waiver program where we are waiving the fees. The way that the staff report has been prepared is we've put together another resolution for a 1-year temporary waiver of these fees. That would give us as staff an opportunity to approach these businesses and let them know of the process, let them know it's free, and encourage them to do this. If you choose not to move forward with this recommendation, we will then continue that process, but we'll be charging the fees. It's about $600 to apply, and then there's annual fees on top of that. So again, before you is the recommended motion, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay. Well, let me just say, I'm really glad you brought this forward to us. I had the chance to hear a little bit about it about a month ago, I think. I have a quick question. So you said it's $600 to apply, and then there's an annual fee. Is it also $600, or is it something else?
The annual fee is based on how much square footage you're actually using. So it's about a couple dollars a square foot. So generally speaking, it's a couple $100 per year per business.
Okay. And then of note, it sounds like about 17 people or businesses are out of compliance right now.
Correct.
Okay. So just to get that on the record. And then one other question. When you said you did this whole survey and outreach, that was this last year or over this last year. I mean, is there interest? Do you think your work is expanding the interest in outdoor dining, in other words?
It's interesting, the phone calls that we received from people that had received that letter, 1,500 people received letters. Some of the people were residents that live in downtown, and they said, do I need to have a permit to have a patio in my, seating in my patio? I said, no. Again, this is specific to just on a city sidewalk. Everybody's response was super excited. They said, I love being able to walk somewhere and have seating, whether it's dining, whether it's a coffee shop. They said, I love that ability of Midtown and downtown. So that was very positive, I think, in people that were either businesses or property owners within this area.
Okay. And you said, I think, that you reached out to 1,500 businesses?
We sent out letters to property owners. There was 1,500 letters that we sent out.
Okay. And I guess finally, are any of the businesses not restaurant or food oriented, but rather like retail? Is this apply, like if they want to put a rack of clothes out on the sidewalk, do they need to get one of these?
They do. Anytime you put any kind of structure on our city sidewalk, you would need to go through a permit process.
Okay. All right. Are there questions from the body? Yeah, Councilmember Breckus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this from a few angles. And one is priorities. You went out and said 1,500 letters out, and that's a lot of, when 1,500 letters go out, some percentage is captured in inquiries and follow-up requests. And, that's a use of staff time. And, we're a body that hasn't gone into strategic workshop for almost 4 years. But from the priorities that I see that aren't getting done, like an accessory dwelling unit ordinance that we gave specific direction on several years ago, a parking enforcement division, which is in our master plan, which I spend a lot of time fielding. Those are priorities, Mr. Manager, that I'd like to have discussions on before we initiate, an effort like this. That is an effort of 1,500 letters out to people. I'd also like, if you're sending out 1,500 letters to anyone outside of, normal operations for, statute compliance with the development review, maybe copy the council on it. I mean, I get letters from RTC about paving out in unincorporated southwest Reno. I want to know, because I have seen signs of this, and when I see it on the agenda, the aha moment goes for me. And I don't think the council should be in a position of aha. So that is a little bit of comment, more directed to the manager. Number two, though, is when we did our fee schedule, I objected to the very significant fee jump. It was one of the reasons for me, for the first time in 11 years, that I voted down on the budget. I want to do fees in a comprehensive manner, not shoved in as the last budget thing. And here we are up with a revision to the fee schedule, because that's what I presume would require again. And it seems very ad hoc to me. Why these waivers to these folks, but why are we hitting the bar people who have a huge jump coming forward on their renewals? Not strategic to me. I think this should be in a fee discussion. So I'm there. But with these 1,500 letters out, people who have been doing outdoor dining, like the cheese board, you know, I can only imagine what they're thinking. I've been doing this for 20 years, these tables. Now I'm, you know, hit. Is this really the city's highest priority? I can just hear the discussions going on with some of these people. Oh, and now I have to pay $600. And so, you know, I get enforcement, but I think that enforcement, I think we've been kind of backed into doing this because of this enforcement effort. And I know you say not a regulatory approach, and we'll do it for 1 year, but it's hard to stand on why we're giving the freebie to these people and why we jacked everyone else's business license up so high. So I'm struggling on this in those ways. I feel like we've been backed into a corner because right now, knowing that 8 of those businesses got friendly reminders, not a revenue officer notice of violation, to come through the process, because I've been reading some, you know, the cheese board one I read. I feel like we're kind of backed into a corner on this for 1 year. So, you know, my points again are priorities of the planning department, you know, talking strategically about what we'd like you to do versus, you know, knowing what you're doing and what's falling off that. And 2 is comprehensive review of fees rather than ad hoc. So I feel forced to support this, but I'm not happy about it being a priority and outside of other initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Breckus. Any other comments or thoughts? Yes, Councilmember Ebert.
Questions. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Angela, too. So do you know how much of an uptick there was in requests for these permits as a result of these programs or this program?
We have not had an application. Well, we've had one outdoor dining permit application in probably 5 years.
Okay, prior to this.
Correct. So through this initiative, we now have 8 new businesses that have come forward.
So we've gone from 1 to 8. Yeah?
Correct.
Okay. So, and how long has this program been going on currently?
The waiver of the fees has been since last September. So this came before council and they adopted this resolution, and then staff took that resolution and went forward and again was proactively approaching the businesses, letting them know that we have this free program. And so now is the opportunity. If you want to continue that fee waiver for 1 more year, then we'll continue with allowing this to happen for free to those businesses.
So if somebody got one already, they could renew also for free.
And it's forever. So once you pay that fee and you have the permit, that permit runs with your business forever. You don't have to re-up it every year.
Yeah, but if they didn't pay, if they got it for free, does it renew for free?
It's forever free. They don't have to renew.
Okay, so they never have to renew these
Correct.
7 businesses that got it for free.
They are locked in.
For free.
Correct.
Okay. My next question is there any kind of waiver or anything for food trucks? I mean, these are businesses that could operate on sidewalks, but not necessarily the same sidewalk.
So at this point, this is the only one that council has asked us to bring forward. If there's other businesses or initiatives that you guys want us to look into, we can come back with a staff recommendation on other options.
Okay. Are there any fines for businesses that saw this program and think it's free? I'm just going to set up out here. You know, if code sees them operating and says, "Hey, I suddenly notice there's 9 businesses doing this."
If we wanted to take a more regulatory stance, code enforcement could go out and start citing businesses. They would first get a letter just notifying them of the process and the permitting process. If they didn't follow through, then code would go out again. If they get a second violation, then they start getting fees. Again, this is not something that we have historically put code enforcement on. This has not been a priority for code enforcement. But again, we have not historically had a lot of outdoor dining in the city. Our midtown, the sidewalks weren't wide enough for outdoor dining. Our downtown, we generally didn't have a lot of businesses that fronted a sidewalk. You know, a lot of our downtown Virginia Street is casinos.
Yeah.
And so now that Midtown has wide sidewalks, it's really opened up the ability for these businesses to have outdoor seating.
Okay. So, if a business does that and code sends them a citation, they could just come in and apply.
Correct.
And get a free permit.
If you choose to
Continue
move forward
this.
with
Yeah.
this temporary waiver,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Councilmember Ebert. I have a question too, based on your answer. So I didn't know that they would have a free waiver of the $600, but you also mentioned annual fee, so now I'm confused.
Correct. So kind of think of it as when you come in for a conditional use permit, right? You pay a one-time fee and you get a conditional use permit, and that runs forever with the property. Similar to that outdoor dining permit. You come in one time, you pay the $612 fee, and that gives you the ability to have outdoor dining or outdoor seating with your business. Separate from that, our Public Works Department charges an annual fee based on the square footage. It's kind of like if you were leasing land from the city. So based on how much square
I
footage
see.
of sidewalk you're leasing, we charge, I think it's $2.52 a square foot.
Okay.
And so we are currently waiving those fees.
The Public Works fee.
But those, again, if you choose not to move forward with this motion, those fees will go back into effect. And so we charge
just to
that
be
once a
clear,
year.
the people that got the waiver last time of the $612, this would also waive their $2.52 renewal.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
For one more year.
For one more year. And I guess a lot of the other people have outdoor dining doing it on their own space, right? So they don't have to get a permit from the city to do outdoor dining. It's
Correct.
their space.
Private property, they're allowed to do it.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense because I was thinking of all the places I've eaten, but
Yeah.
then I'm thinking it's their patio, not a city sidewalk. Okay. All right. I will just say I think the fee is a little high. $600. I don't know. I know that we did a fee study and there's a basis for analysis of how long it takes and so on. But I will just say $600 seems a little high to me for the first time. But on the other hand, you're mentioning it's a one-time fee.
Correct.
So-
And think about it, when an application comes in, it goes through review from our planning department, our police department, our fire department, public works department, so our business license department. There's probably 5 or 6 departments that actually have to go out and make sure that it's meeting all of the regulations. The biggest one we're concerned about, of course, is making sure there's that ADA access.
Right.
But we also want to make sure that they're not going to fall into the street or, from a safety perspective.
Well, we
look
also
at
have to
where
make
they're
sure there's
located.
enough room to walk by. I mean, we can't have them set up all the way to the curb.
Correct.
I mean, bottom line.
Correct.
So, okay, well, those are my questions. Any further? Yes, let me call on Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Angela, for all the information. Just, I know there's been a lot of talk about specific streets in our city, but I just want to make sure that these fees can work really with anybody within the city limits, or is it just to the areas that we've been discussing?
No, it's citywide. The bigger issue is most city sidewalks are between 4 and 6 feet wide.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't allow outdoor dining on a sidewalk that was that narrow.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Breckus.
You mentioned that the permit is like a conditional permit or so on. Does it run with the business or does it run with the land?
It runs with the business.
Okay, so it really is a business licensing issue then. It doesn't run with the tenant space or the structure, the building. Okay.
And part of that is, we make them sign a revocable occupancy permit, a
Yeah.
hold harmless agreement. So they have to show they have insurance. They have to show that they, as the tenant, are cleaning up the sidewalk. So our contract, so to speak, is with the tenant. And so
that would make sense because also the fixtures are probably the operator.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
All
I'll
right, thank you.
support, but
Good.
I
think it's a good thing to support. I do wonder about the future. I would like to see as much outdoor dining as possible. And I do know we had some heavy duty weather, which just crunched the season. And even the 105 degrees is affecting outdoor dining. I would not be outdoor dining right at the moment at 3 in the afternoon or 5 and 105. But anyway, I'll be interested to see if you want to continue this next year. But I'm very supportive and I'm looking for a motion on this item D1.
I motion
All right.
to adopt the resolution.
All right, Councilmember Taylor. Thank you. And is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, Councilmember Martinez. All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any final comments on this? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. We are going to waive fees, businesses here and expand.
Thank you.
It's good. All right, we have no items under E or F, so we're going to move to G. Madam Clerk, this is actually titled under your section. So it looks like G1 is for Ward 1 to consider nominees to their Neighborhood Advisory Board. So I'm turning to Councilwoman Breckus, G1.
Yeah, and as the item mentions, there are a number of openings, but one thing I learned from the redistricting is, and as we're moving into a new redistricting, I don't want to bring people on new who might get districted out. That's a decision I've made for my neighborhood advisory board. I'm willing to do the reappointments for operational purpose of those who applied, but I'm really waiting for the lines to draw again.
Okay.
And the prolonged nature of our redistricting, because this body wanted to maybe not redistrict in the legislative session, means that there's been a lot of uncertainty out there over the last 2 years for the neighborhood advisory boards, in addition to, us not taking a look at how kind of scoping the broader issues of our boards and commissions. So I just don't want to bring anyone on and have them disappointed on their residency. And also, the neighborhood advisory boards seem to be really stifled at this point in time through, our lack of direction and purpose for them. So I'm going to bring on, the understanding reappointment requests of Margot Pisevich, Jerry Wager, I think it is, and Carla Werninghaus. And then, if they get redistricted out, I presume like the last redistricting, they'll have a choice to stay or reapply for the other one, and that'll be up to them. But thank you.
Okay, so you're motioning for the 3 reappointments. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Breckus, a second from Councilmember Ebert, and I am looking for any final conversation on that. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Item G2 is for Ward 2, and today I'm going to make a motion to reappoint Donna Keats. And I'm going to ask the clerk to bring back the others on the next time. I think it's the first meeting in August. I know that there's a couple more people that want to apply as well, so I'll look for all of those together. So my motion is to reappoint Donna Keats.
I'll support, but I'm also going to note that she's a Ward 1 resident.
Yes, she is, and
who was redistricted in.
Redistricted out of Ward 2 in 2018.
Yeah, redistricted into Ward 1. Yeah.
Yes. So we're allowed to do that, and so I chose to do that.
I know. It's just, for me, I've always wanted to have the number one thing for representation on my NAB is diversity within the neighborhoods, because I need to hear that voice from each neighborhood. And that's, when I see other Ward 1 people going onto the Ward 2 board, it's like, there may not be another person in that neighborhood who wants to get on a board. So I think, it's an issue we need to tackle at some point, maybe.
Yeah. So just so I know everyone else is newer, this area over by Virginia Lake was part of Ward 2 for many years, the 8 years that I was on council. In 2018, we redistricted and Virginia Lake left. But Donna herself lives very close to the Moana line of Ward 2 and Ward 1. So, and she's very knowledgeable on issues in that neighborhood, which go beyond just Virginia Lake. So I'm very comfortable with her reappointment. So I'm looking for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion from me, second from Councilmember Breckus to reappoint Donna Keats. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Please say nay. All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to move on to G3, which is Ward 3. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Dewar. And I have to echo some of the sentiments that Councilmember Breckus is bringing up. I think where Ward 3 NAB is a little distinct is that we do have a lot of openings, and I worry about quorum issues and making sure that the board still has the ability to meet. So I am going to appoint new members onto the board just to make sure that we have that quorum and that we don't have any problems. So I will motion to appoint Ilya Arbitman, Jarrett Singh, and Shonda Golden to the Ward 3 NAB, and Shonda would be as an alternate, just to clarify.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion from Councilmember Martinez, second from Councilmember Breckus. As you've heard, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Unanimous appointments. Thank you. For G4, we have Ward 4. Are you interested in making a motion? It looks like you have one
Yeah.
person listed and 6 openings.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get people to
Apply?
join. I have a real issue with people getting into the North Valleys by 6 p.m. to be able to attend the NABs. So yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion to appoint Victoria Locke.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Ebert, second from Councilmember Breckus. Any final comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And item 6, G5 for Ward 5. Do you have anything for us today, Ms. Taylor?
I do. I'd like to reappoint Carol Crane.
Carol Crane? Okay, all right. And is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All right, so we have a motion from Councilmember Taylor, second from Councilmember Breckus for Carol Crane. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. And I think that's all the NABs. I think there were a couple issues that were brought up that are important to address. One would be, sounds like the start time for Ward 4. You made an interesting comment. This redistricting may have an impact. I'd love to hear later about, let's say someone's on the Ward 1 NAB, but now they're redistricted into Ward 2. Are they still on the Ward 1 NAB? I would like to hear later offline how that would work, just so we know so we'll all know going forward what that looks like. Okay, and we are now at item H1, which is City Council comments. So I'm open to hearing about what's going on with your boards and commissions, activities you're working on, upcoming local community events. Anything. And I'm thinking myself. Okay, I will say in the Truckee River flood, we adapted a new map book. And so if anyone's interested in what that project is, the map book is being placed online, and you can get a hard copy too from the staff. There were a few changes. One of the changes that I made was to make sure, on behalf of the city, that the recreation at Mill and McCarran was put back in very explicitly, so people aren't confused about whether there can be recreation ultimately on those lands. So that was important to me. And there was a few other, I asked that they reinstate the fish passage downstream, and they did. And there were a few other changes, things that have been taken out of the plan that have been put back in the plan. So I think it's to the good. Anyone else want to comment on any board, commission thoughts they have on anything?
I think I think we have our parade this Saturday,
We do.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what time, but pray, come out.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to ask for the good of the body. It's the calendar appointment says 8. And I wondered, do they really need us there at 8, or what is the plan for council? I think the parade starts at 10.
The parade does start at 10. And so we will work to make sure that everybody has the game plan with respect to staging and everything else. So,
Okay. There has been confusion in the past about where to meet.
yes.
Okay. So I have spent, part of an hour looking up and down trying to find our, let's
That's-
call it float or spot to
That's
walk
the
in.
warm-up for the parade.
Okay, that's
to
the
make sure
warm-up.
no one pulls a hamstring.
Okay. Well, so, and where is the general location of start? Do you know? Anyone?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we normally work south to north, and the general, or no, that's not true. We work north to south, and so the general starting place is roughly 4th and Virginia.
Okay. It looks like Madam Clerk has a thought on this.
The last 2 years, we've staged generally right in front of the El Dorado.
Okay.
Don't quote me that will be the exact space, but the last 2 years, that's where we have been staging.
Okay. And then walking south on Virginia. And then, as I recall, they streamed across in front of the, I always want to call it, the Wild River Grill. And then we went over, it seemed like, over to Wingfield Park.
That's right,
And so, is that the plan, the game plan?
as I understand it.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience today who knows more than us?
Councilmember Dewar, the liaisons are working on getting the information and we'll be sending it out today.
Okay.
Just working on it, but we'll make sure
Okay.
the location is set and we'll get to send it.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Any other comments or thoughts on anything? I want to point out that I'll say one other thing. The city, knowing that our shelters are overflowing, as usual in the summer, especially around July 4th, we put a special effort together with our fire department and did a lot of media attention on adoption of animals. And it seems like it worked. We held off having to euthanize animals for space. Animals are euthanized for other issues like behavior or medical problems, but not for space. I wanted to point out that there is a calendar that our firefighters put out a year ago in 2023, January, but it's still relevant. And it's called The Rescuers and the Rescued. And it is pictures of our firefighters with cats. And they're adorable pictures. They did a phenomenal job. They made these calendars available at the adoption as well. I wanted to point out that our own assistant city manager showed up. And although she is a huge foster already, she fostered yet another dog from this shelter, even though she lives down in Carson City. So I want to give you a big shout out for that. I mean, that was huge. And this was considered a very unadoptable dog, an older dog with potential behavior problems. So you got my heart. You already did, but.
They're not potential, but you should ask what the name of the dog is.
Oh, thank you for the tip. What is the name of the dog? Karma, with a K. Is struggling still. Okay. All right. Well, good job. Very good job. So I encourage anyone who needs another animal or wants to foster an animal to do so. We're going to be continuing to look for ways to help unpack this backlog between Animal Services, county run on our behalf, and Nevada Humane nonprofit, and how we can help facilitate that. I happen to be chair of Animal Services, so it falls in my bailiwick whether I want it to or not. We got to help unclog the chain here. So anyway, any final comment, Mr. Martinez?
Thank you so much, Councilmember Dewar. I just wanted to address one of the public comments that we got about offering opportunities for families, and just mention that we're having our second free pool day at Trainer Pool this Friday, July 21st at 1 p.m. at Trainer Swimming Pool. So if anybody would like to join us for that, you're welcome to come out.
Okay.
We'll also have some paletas to enjoy, so that would be good.
That's fantastic. I will announce another event, also animal related. So this Sunday is Art Pause. Happens to be one of my favorite events in the city of Reno. It's part of Art Town. It's held at McKinley in the shade. It's animal friendly. You can bring mostly dogs. I've seen very few people have brought cats. They have swimming pools for the dogs to cool off in. There's adoption opportunities. There's a lot of information about that space. So, and there's even art. There's photographs, portrait opportunities, and paintings of animals going on there too. So if you can, try to make it if you haven't. And if you have, come back. It's really awesome. I think that's all I'm hearing. Is there more? Okay. Any more for us, Mr. Manager? Things you want to share, announcements?
No?
Okay.
We're great.
Okay, with that, I'm excited to end our meeting.
Oh, hold on, we
Oh.
do have closing public comment.
We do?
We do.
Okay.
We have one public commenter via Zoom, Robin Palmer.
Okay. Robin, you
Hi.
are recognized. Yes.
I already provided public comment under item
B19.
Yeah, B19.
Okay, great. You just had your hand raised, so I wasn't sure if you were still wanting to comment on closing.
I was advised to do that by the clerk's office.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
thanks
great.
for sticking with us through the whole meeting. And I did jump the gun on every other board and commission. I could just end the meeting that I chair, but here we will look for a motion, please.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. And second. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned.